Hey everybody, this is Dr. Pastor Richard H Wright JD, and just chilling out, waiting for the wife. She's in the store, but I do want to come on and say, hey, make sure that you vote. Get out and vote. You have a little under 2 hours, a little under 3 hours left. So whatever you're doing, make sure you vote. And by the way, those of you who are in our state of Illinois, you should be aware, even if you haven't registered to vote, you can go and you can register on the spot and you can vote on the spot. So have 2 pieces of ID, something that shows your address, like a bill or something like that. And most of you have state IDs and or driver's license. And there's no excuse. This election is too important for us not to take the time to cast our ballots. I have already posted on Facebook, if you don't vote now, you forever should hold your peace. You have nothing to complain about. You are given the opportunity. There have been people who have died. I'm 68 years old, and I remember many of the individuals who lost their lives to give us the right to vote. I remember when I was 18 years old that I wanted to vote, but I couldn't vote because the rule was 21 years old. But as soon as I turned 21, the very first election, I was out there voting. I was campaigning, though, when I was a young kid at 18 years old. So I've been on the campaign trail for many years. I haven't run for public office. I have no desire to run for public office. But I do know that this is a 911 clarion call, that if you don't vote, then keep your mouth quiet. And it is so important. There are people right now, if you're looking at the election down in Georgia, I was just checking out. I got family down there. They tell me that with that election being so close and Stacey Abrams, black female running for governor, has a really good chance of winning. But there are things like voting machines malfunctioning, all other kinds of issues. Kind of reminds me of where I came from, Cook County, Illinois, in Chicago, when we were trying to get Harold in. We were trying to get one of the people that we knew that would be a good candidate that would look out for us. And nothing has changed. Down in Florida, there's a brother by the name of Gilliam. He's a young man, not a multimillionaire, running for office. And this young man is trying to make history in the state of Florida as well. And then we come back here to Illinois. We've got things that are happening. Illinois has had some very serious problems. And I can tell you right now, you need to voice your choice. You need to express who you feel would have a chance. We've given one guy a chance, and I heard him say out of his own mouth, he said this 4 years ago. He said, if I don't deliver, then vote me out. Well, then don't disagree with him if that's the way you feel. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I am telling you it is so critical that you get out and vote. You will find me being an individual who believes in speaking out on politics. Yes, I'm a professor. Yes, I am a pastor. Yes, I am a man of God. But God has allowed me to get and obtain an education and to share the truth with people and to be sure that you're not negligent. I heard a person say to me most recently, they said, oh, why should I vote? They all bad. I says, let me say this to you. You work on a job, right? Those people are not all good there. But do you quit? If there's a grievance, do you express it? Yes, you do. Well, now is the time. Now you have the opportunity. You have in your hands the ability to be able to go and vote. So don't select the excuse route. Don't take the step to say, well, I was going to, but get the butt out of the way and put your hands up and go in and vote. Take your time. Select who you think is good. There are people who call me, say, hey, some people, who do you think is best? And they're not all along party lines. They're individuals that I think that can benefit and change the tide and the direction. People of America who are listening to this all over the country, all over the world, we are in dire straits in this country. And we have to vote. I heard Michelle Obama say once, she says, when they go low, we go high. Well, guess what? I want to add on to what Sister Michelle Obama said. When they go low, we vote high. And we have to vote high. We have to vote in good numbers. We have to be able to be wise with our vote. You don't want to throw away your money, so why you want to throw away your vote? It is true, whether you like it or not, the statement that you've heard many, many times, a no vote is a yes vote for the opposition. Voter apathy is something that needs to be a thing of the past. Step up to the plate, young people. If you're 18 years or over, you should be able to vote. Go and vote. In many states, you have the opportunity to go vote. Your employer will, even in some states, not Illinois, will pay you, give you paid 2 hours off or something different to go out and vote. But the point of the matter is that you need to go out and vote. When I was a kid, voting used to be 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now it's until 7 p.m. So you have absolutely no excuse. Oh, I was busy. I had a lot of obligations. Your first obligation for today is thank God. Your next obligation is to go out and thank God for the opportunity and ability that He has allowed that people will come forth and vote. I'm saying, hey, man, I see a lot of my friends on here saying that they voted. Venus Fisher. I see a number of people who are watching. A lot of you guys, family members, friends. Hey, Brother Early Walker, thank you. I'm going to tell you guys, listen to me. I am a community activist. I believe in not just sitting in a corner. I believe in getting out of that corner. I believe in stepping out and operating. The Bible says faith without works is dead. And I believe that my vote puts us closer to changing some of the situations and circumstances that exist in this country. But if I just sit back in my rocking chair, if I just sit back in front of the TV with the remote, if I sit up and play my games all day, and I don't go out and put my 2 cents in and vote, shame on me and shame on you. I'm looking all over Facebook. I see many friends, many people I've known down through the years operating and exercising their right to vote. The United Negro College Fund has a statement that they often associate with knowledge and education. They say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Well, the opportunity to vote is a terrible thing to waste. You don't want to sit back and then complain. You need to vote. 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 I did. It's right here on my shirt above my Northwestern Law. Very, very, very important, people. I am imploring you. I saw a post on Facebook where a person says, "Is it sad in this day and time that we have to beg people to vote?" Well, guess what? I don't mind begging. I go back to a line from the Temptations, ain't too proud to beg, because this is so important. As I look back and I see my children, I see my grandchildren, and I see many of my friends and their children. And now I'm watching children of even some of the children that I know whose kids are growing up and able to vote. If you can drive a car, if you can get a driver's license, then you go to the Secretary of State's office, and one of the questions they ask you, if you're 18 or over, do you want to register to vote? The answer is always yes. Voter registration card, diplomas, paychecks, those are things that you want to have. You want to make sure you have that, because, hey man, one of my students is voting for the first time today. She said out here, Laura Elizabeth Perez. Hey man, I'm happy to hear that. Now, that's what I mean. Vote. I teach criminal justice, and I tell people, if you don't like the things that are going on, first of all, go to school, get an education. Knowledge is power. Now, when you get that knowledge, take that knowledge and apply it to something that will benefit not just you, not us four and no more, but your community, society, and contribute in a positive way, so that your children and children's children and children's children and generations coming behind you will be able to say, my dad, my grandfather, my father spoke out. And when I leave this world, my children, one thing they will always be able to say is, my dad always jumped in, always had something. I'll go back to when I was a little boy. The first political campaign that I remember even being at a rally was when John F. Kennedy ran for president of the United States. And I was a kid living in the west side of Chicago. I had to be no younger than 10, maybe years old or so, 11 years old. But I remember going down to the Chicago Stadium and getting involved in the rally. I remember the picture in the window of John F. Kennedy, who asked not what you can do for your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Service is so important. And so I go back to that time. I remember vividly in my mind the first daily. I remember when I was a kid living on the west side of Chicago in the 24th Ward, where we had just moved in 1962. We moved in 62. I remember the alderman. His name was Benjamin Willis of the 24th Ward on the west side. I was a little boy, but I still remember that. I remember seeing my mother, and I was sharing this with my wife earlier today, standing on the corner working to get candidates elected, working with the precinct captains and getting out there and getting people to go out and vote. Now, there were some issues, some shady things that happened, but I can tell you that when I got old enough, I dived right in. I remember years ago, as a young person, when there was a alderman who broke with the organization in Chicago. His name was Ralph Metcalf, and he was an alderman, but then he ran for Congress. I worked in his campaign. I got out there, and I couldn't vote. I wasn't able to vote. Oh, well, maybe I was at that time. But, anyway, the point of the matter is that I am imploring you to understand the seriousness and importance of the right to vote. I go back to one of the biggest campaigns that I was heavily involved in. And I was really involved in this campaign as a young kid. Before I became a lawyer, Dan Walker ran for governor, and he walked the state. I walked some parts of the state. I was a walker, they call. I'm talking about what I did. And I'm naming the candidates because I want to put reality to it. This is not fictional stuff I'm sharing with you. These are facts. This is part of my life that I rolled up my sleeves. I got out there and I worked in the campaigns. I actually found myself, I remember where I was at the bus stop. No, not the bus stop, riding in a car in 1968, April 4th, when in Evergreen Park area, when the news came on that Dr. Martin Luther King had been assassinated. And I remember that so well. I was in my junior year at Fanger High School in Roseland. And I remember all the problems that happened. And I saw the people go through and do all kinds of things, riot. But I tell people, don't riot, don't rant, don't rave, vote. Don't assassinate, vote. Don't talk about, vote. Don't get upset, vote. 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 And I tell you the truth, so you understand this. I've worked in many campaigns on that. I worked in the late Harold Washington's. I was heavily involved in that as well. I was heavily involved in the election of President Obama. I have supported candidates who were not Democratic candidates. I remember we had a Bernard Carey. We had a state's attorney in Cook County. I supported him. I wasn't able to do much, but I did because I was in Cook County. The point of the matter is this. I am telling each and every one of you, vote your conscience. Some people say, well, I'm an independent. Okay, be independent, but go vote. You know, as I was trying to tell somebody once before, when you have the table spread before you and you want to be able to have a voice at that table, you need to pick people who can be elected to sit at that table to speak for you, or run yourself. But the point of the matter is, how are you going to get there? I remember when I was at Loop College, which is called Harold Washington now, and I was 19 years old. That was my first run at office. I ran for vice president of the Loop College Evening Student Council, and I was my own campaign manager. I wrote my own slogans. The right vote is the best vote. You can't go wrong with voting for right. And I was the vice presidential candidate on a ticket called the Justice Ticket. So I teach criminal justice now, and I stand for justice. But that goes back when I was 19 years old. What I am saying is that I campaigned, and I got the highest vote of any candidate on the ballot at that time. Because you know why? Because my heart was in it. And then I did some things while I was in that position. I worked in student government heavily. And as I said, I've seen political situations and circumstances. I am probably one of the most political individuals you're ever going to run across because of where I came from, the 24th Ward. And anybody know the history of the 24th Ward, you'll know what I am talking about. So I find myself as an individual who don't just talk the talk. I walk the walk. Like I said, I like being a walker, even though I'm a right. But you know what I'm saying. When I was a kid, we used to have this saying, let your fingers do the walking. That was through the yellow pages. Well, now, let your feet or your hands or your wheelchair or whatever it is, your bicycle, roll you into your pole in your area. I heard a person say, and I saw it on Facebook today, they said, there ain't nowhere to go to vote. I says, it's so easy to find where to vote. With now the internet, you can go online and you can Google, where is my polling place? And they'll lead you to a place anywhere in the United States of America. It is so important for you to vote. Time is winding up. Time is winding up. The Constitution of the United States, through the Voters' Right Act that came out of the Constitution of the United States, allows individuals the right to vote. It says that there should be no discrimination in voting on the basis of race, religion, or national origin, and that people should vote their conscience. But if you don't know, ask somebody. Don't be afraid. I grew up learning and paying attention and studying who are good candidates. I go back and I look at some of our candidates. The first president of the United States that I remember in my lifetime was Ike, Dwight D. Eisenhower. And I learned some really good things from studying that. FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And going on down through the line, studying, I learned about some things that happened during the Nixon era. I was in college at the time and studying political science. I remember dealing with the elections that take place. I remember when Ronald Reagan was elected. I remember when the great Jimmy Carter, who is a man he's an elder statesman president, but he has gone out to speak publicly about the election in Georgia. He should know. He's a native, whatever they call him, is a Georgian. But he's one of those people. He's a peach. That's what they call Georgia peach. And he should know about what's happening in his state. And so there have been many on the campaign trail. I'm out here in Will County. I'm from Cook, but I've learned by meeting different candidates, shaking hands, talking to people, asking important questions from Congress all the way down to the library board, the school board. I have encouraged people who can help their communities to run for school board. And someone approached me about it recently, and I said, well, I don't know. I got a lot of things on my plate. But anyway, the bottom line is this, is that when you do have people who are on the ballot, they're not going to win if you don't vote. You can pray. I heard a person that talked about praying today. I says, yes, the Bible says watch as well as pray. Let me equate what that really means. When it says watch means observe what's happening. Pay attention to what's happening, because you're in this world if you're a Christian, even if you're not of the world. But the point of the matter is that the world systems are going to control how your life is here on earth. And we are to occupy until Jesus comes back. And so we find ourselves in the situation where we have to be action Jackson, action. Action speaks louder than words. And even the Bible says, don't be just a hearer, be a doer. Well, I'm saying this to you. Don't just be a hearer of the politicians, of the individuals who are running for office. Be a doer. You can campaign, but in order to express what's really going to count is you to get out and vote. Don't say, oh, well, the systems are rigged. You know what? I'm going to say this to you. If you ain't in the system, how you going to know if it's rigged or not? If you didn't vote, how you going to know? Well, I would have, but again, I go back to what I said a few minutes ago. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. I remember as a young kid growing up in Chicago, and I remember watching what happened with the police department in Chicago. And the police department in Chicago, I remember all kinds of issues happening. And some of those are still happening now. But guess what? There is a movement where the department is becoming more diverse. There are people of all ethnicities. There's encouragement for more females, more Hispanics, more African Americans. But these people are educated and they're obtaining degrees. I have a family member. She's CPD and she's got a degree. And, knowledge is power. But why am I saying that about the election? Because when you get to the point that you understand these types of things and you feel like it starts with your vote. I don't live in Chicago. I don't have anything to say about who the mayor of Chicago is going to be. I look and I observe, but I will, if a person asks me, I'll give them some ideas. But I will tell you this, that what I will say is where I live, in the county, in the municipality, in the district, in the state, I will look at the candidates and I will choose who I believe is the best candidate. I've seen people say, well, Democrats do this, Republicans do that. I say, well, guess what? I never seen a party do anything wrong. I've only seen the individuals who may happen to be a member of a party do something wrong. And so my point, good people, again, as I conclude this conversation, you've listened to me, you heard me, go and tell people, say, hey, it's time. It's time. If you haven't voted, go out and vote. Tomorrow is not going to be election day here. It's today. And as I always remind people, today is the only day that you're going to have in life. So what do you mean by that? I mean that when you get to tomorrow, it's going to be called today. But this November 6th, 2018, this midterm election, we need to be able to stand up and express we need to change many things in this country. Don't vote on hate. Don't vote on racism, sexism. Vote the best candidates who manifest themselves in ways that are just and truth. How you know that they all are just and truth? I base it on their record. I have seen people that I have voted for, and they have changed, and I've changed too. You mop a floor with a dirty mop, guess what? I don't care how clean it looks. It's still a dirty floor. So cast your ballot and then keep talking. Ask everybody in your house who's 18 or over. Did you vote? Get up, go vote. I'll take you to vote. I even heard on the radio that Uber and Lyft, I believe it is giving discounts to have people, to get people to vote. I saw a gentleman when we went to vote today. He couldn't walk, but he rolled in his wheelchair. But he went there and voted. There are people that I know who don't have the ability to see. They're blind, but they are still voting. We, the people of the United States of America, whatever your position, express it. Voice your choice. Voting is the way. This has been Pastor Dr. Richard H Wright, JD, and the JD stands for Juris Doctor. And I tell you, mark my word, you will see results if you come together united. And if you don't complain, just vote. All right. Holler at you later.